You know that moment when something unexpected breaks your car, your laptop, your phone, and instead of your stomach dropping, you just think, okay, I'll handle it. Not rich, not rolling in it, just fine. That feeling has a price tag, and it's not the six-figure number every financial influencer tells you to aim for. It's not even close. There's a specific dollar amount, a threshold, where your brain stops operating in pure survival mode and starts actually thinking about building something. And most people blow right past this milestone without even realizing what just changed. That number is $5,000. I know, that sounds too small to matter. Stick with me because by the end of this video, you're going to see exactly why this one milestone changes the rules of the entire game and why hitting it first is more important than almost anything else you can do financially. My name is Marcus, and I spend way too much time thinking about money. Financial psycho. Lucky, and why some people seem to build wealth almost effortlessly while everyone around them stays stuck in the same exact patterns for years. If you want to understand the real mechanics behind how wealth actually gets built, not the motivation poster version, the actual version, subscribe right now and hit the like button if this ends up helping you see things differently. Now, here's where I need to challenge something you've probably heard 1,000 times. Most financial advice tells you to focus on the big milestones, build a six-figure savings account, invest until you hit $1 million, retire early. And those are real goals worth having. But here's the problem with leading with those numbers. When the finish line is that far away, your brain stops running the race. Think about it this way. If someone told you to run a marathon starting tomorrow with zero training, you'd probably laugh at them. Not because running is impossible, people do it every day, but because the distance feels completely disconnected from where you currently are. That's what happens to most people financially. They look at $1 million and think, that's not for people like me, so they never start. Or they start and quit in month 2 because progress feels invisible. Here's what the personal finance world mostly gets wrong. Wealth doesn't build in a straight line toward a distant goal. It builds in thresholds. Each threshold changes the rules of the game in a different way. And the first threshold, the one that unlocks everything else, is $5,000. Not $50,000, not $1 million, $5,000. Here's something that actually surprises people when I explain it. Saving $5,000 is not primarily a math problem. It's a brain problem. Here's something that actually surprises people when I explain it. Saving $5,000 is not primarily a math problem. It's a brain problem. Psychologists have studied what they call scarcity mindset, what happens to your thinking when you're living without a financial buffer. And what they found is that your brain, when it perceives financial threat, shifts into something close to survival mode. And what they found is that your brain, when it perceives financial threat, shifts into something close to survival mode. Think about what this looks like in real life. You stay at a job you hate because you literally can't risk going 2 weeks without a paycheck. You avoid the doctor because even a $200 copay feels catastrophic. You can't negotiate your salary because you need this paycheck on Friday and you can't afford to rock the boat. And here's the thing most people miss. This isn't a personality flaw. It's not laziness or irresponsibility. It's a brain that has 100% of its processing power devoted to immediate survival. There is literally no bandwidth left for thinking about growth, opportunity, or the future. When you're in survival mode, your horizon is the next 2 weeks, maybe the next month, not years, not decades. $5,000 changes this, not because of the money itself, but because of what it represents to your nervous system. It represents a buffer, a cushion, a window of time that exists between you and disaster. Here's the data that puts this in perspective. Research shows that 40% of Americans can't cover a $400 emergency without borrowing money or selling something. $400, not $5,000, not $1,000. $400 would send almost half the country into debt. That's survival mode. That's what it looks like at scale. When you have $5,000 saved, you've bought yourself something priceless. You've bought time. Time to think, time to decide, time to make a move without desperation driving the decision. And your brain works completely differently when desperation isn't in the driver's seat. Now let's talk about what $5,000 actually does to the numbers, because this is where things start getting genuinely exciting. If you're saving $300 a month, which is $10 a day, which is less than most people spend on subscriptions they forgot they have, You'll hit $5,000 in about 17 months. That's assuming you're starting from zero and you're consistent. I'm not going to pretend that's easy. It's not. It requires real discipline. It requires saying no to things you want. Most people quit somewhere around month 3 when progress feels slow and invisible. So let's be honest about that. But here's where the math starts working in your favor in a way that feels almost unfair. Once you have $5,000 invested at a typical 8% annual return, that money generates about $400 a year without you doing anything. That might not sound like much yet, but that $400 represents income you didn't have to earn. Money that showed up because your existing money was working overnight, on weekends, on holidays, every hour you weren't at work. Here's the part that surprises people. Your second $5,000 arrives faster than your first. Because now you have that initial amount generating returns alongside your regular contributions, your third is faster still. By the time you're building toward $20,000, the timeline has compressed noticeably compared to where you started. The momentum compounds, slowly at first, then noticeably, then in a way that feels almost unfair compared to how hard that first $5,000 was to scrape together. But the math isn't even the most important part. Here's the part nobody talks about. When you save $5,000, you become a different person. Think about what it actually took to get there. Unless someone handed it to you, you made hundreds of small decisions over more than a year. You chose the future over the present, over and over again, on days when you didn't feel like it, on weeks when everything felt pointless. And here's the kicker. You proved something to yourself that no one can take away from you. You proved you can control money instead of letting money control you. You became someone who delays gratification and actually follows through. That's an identity shift, and identity shifts are the most durable thing in finance because they change your behavior permanently, not just until motivation fades. Before $5,000, the story you tell yourself might be, "I'm not good with money," or "I just can't seem to save anything." Those stories feel true because they've been confirmed by evidence every single month. After $5,000, those stories are dead. They're disproven by what you actually did. You're now someone who saves, full stop. And that new identity affects every financial decision you'll ever make going forward. Now here's where this gets practical for your career, because this is where most people are genuinely shocked. Before you have a financial buffer, you're trapped. Not physically, but financially. You can't take a risk on a better opportunity because what if it doesn't work out? You can't push back when your boss treats you badly because you need that direct deposit this Friday. You can't walk away from something that's costing you more than it's giving you because you have no runway. $5,000 gives you what I call option money. It's not enough to retire on. It won't fund your future by itself, but it gives you enough runway to make a move, to say no, to take a calculated risk on something better. And here's the wild part. Often you don't even need to use it. Just knowing it exists changes how you show up at work. You become more confident, more direct. You negotiate differently when desperation isn't written all over your face. People can feel the difference, and it affects what opportunities come your way and ultimately what you earn. Now, I need to warn you about the most common mistake people make right after hitting this milestone, because it happens constantly and it's devastating. You save $5,000, you feel the shift, you feel good about money for maybe the first time in years, and then you spend it. New phone, vacation you deserve, a down payment on something that wasn't part of the plan. And just like that, you're back to zero. Here's what's really brutal about that. It's not just the money you lose, it's the mindset. Your brain goes straight back into survival mode. The breathing room disappears, and starting over from zero is psychologically much harder than it sounds, because now you know what it felt like to have a buffer and you gave it away. $5,000 is not a reward for good behavior. It's not a trophy you get to cash in. It's a foundation. It's the first brick in a structure that, if you protect it, will keep growing in your favor for decades. Here's how I think about it. That $5,000 is your future self, sitting quietly in an account, waiting to give you options you don't have yet. Every time you protect it, you're giving your future self more power. Every time you raid it, you're taking power away from them. Your future self can't come back in time and stop you, but they're going to feel the decision you make right now. Look, $5,000 is not going to make you wealthy by itself. It's not going to solve all your problems overnight. You still have a long road ahead, and I won't pretend otherwise. But it will fundamentally change how your brain processes every financial decision from this point forward. And how you think about money is the thing that determines every outcome that follows. And everything that comes after that, every milestone, every investment, every opportunity, gets built on the foundation of that first decision to protect what you saved. Start building it today. Not next month, not when things calm down, today. Because your future self isn't going to remember the specific thing you skipped to get here. They're going to remember that you built them something solid when you didn't have to. If this helped you see money differently, subscribe, because every week I break down what they never taught you about how wealth actually works. And if you want to know exactly what to do with your money the moment your paycheck hits, the step-by-step routine that actually builds this kind of momentum, watch this video next.